Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be reacting to this video. One tip for every weapon in the finals 2025 edition. Make sure to show some love to Ronan, subscribe to his channel, like the video like I have. Show support to him because this is his video I'm reacting to. Anyways, 2025 is coming to an end. This video was posted 8 months ago. It is almost 2026. We have a new setup upgrade. I'm going to try to do more reaction content for the new year. But anyways, without further ado, let's react to this video.
In today's video, I'm going over every weapon in the finals so far and giving some tips for every single one of them. It's been a long time since I made a video like this, and the finals has changed quite a bit since then. So while some of these tips
so if that video was like 9 months from when he made this video might be a little out of date, but it still will probably have a lot of
a good number of them are going to
be good tips.
Brand new. So let's start things off with the spear. Using the spear's alt fire is a nice way to peek around corners and is a great way to get value with a usually
I'm gonna guess that he does the animation cancel as the tip.
Pretty mid attack. Another way to get value with it is to damage people through barricades by jumping while attacking. Now, it's really tempting to only right-click with the sledgehammer, but in terms of time to kill, it's often better to do a left-click and a melee instead.
Oh, I actually did not know that. Is it really just a left-click and then an elbow? Or do you need the winch?
However, this doesn't mean that right-click is just straight-up worse in every scenario, as tricking an opponent into walking into an alt-fire attack...
Also, I think right-click has way more... bigger hitbox. That's what I'm looking for. So sometimes it is better just to try and secure the kill with the right click, because you have a better chance of hitting them if you just need that little bit of damage.
Use some
but
really
it does take more time to charge
more often than you might think. In the earlier version of this video, I talked about how the KS-23 can destroy walls and how you can fire 2 shots into a wall, reload, and then fire the 3rd shot to go in and get a cleaner push.
Did they buff its structure damage? Because I'm pretty sure now it's only 2 shots for a wall. That might have been changed, so maybe
while
2
also
shots.
having more ammo for the fight. But I also heard some people talking about this weapon having hip fire inaccuracy, which is partly true. It does have some bloom if you hip fire while jumping, but that's about all that I could find in testing, so just be aware of that. Also,
and I'm pretty sure it did get up in the newest update. I'm pretty sure newest battle and changes, at least it got buffed, and now I think it has better accuracy. I don't know. I think it's ADS, maybe hipfire. I don't know, but it has better accuracy now.
Since my last video, the SA-12 can't winch cancel anymore, so the new best strategy for the winch is to try to get the initial winch every single time. There's pretty much no scenario anymore where you should ever save it. Because of this nerf, I would also recommend trying out mesh shield and learning mesh juggling if winch just isn't doing it for you anymore.
Okay, I tried one of this guy actually, he makes really good, he did like a loadout video, which I would definitely recommend you watch. I use a bunch of his loadouts for ranked, and one of his is mesh shield SA and then something. But I was kind of like, didn't want to use it because I'm like, that's kind of, I'd rather use winch, but I guess this might be why, because there was tech, but I got vaulted.
Contrary to some people's opinions, minigun can actually be a very strong weapon on heavy in the right hands, but it's crucial that you learn bunny hop priming if you want to even consider using this weapon at a high level. So because
there's 2 types of minigun players. I see so many people just like use the minigun, but then they're just like standing there, missing half their shots, shooting into a wall, and then there's some minigun players who are like fully bunny hopping, like getting the most of the minigun, and it's actually a really good weapon if you use the techs and the kind of movement with it.
From this action, what you basically have to do is you want to do a slide, then a jump, and then start priming your minigun, and then after that you can continuously do more and more jumps until you run out of velocity. So basically like this. And you can also do this by holding down left click as well. Deagles can be a great weapon, but they tend to perform slightly worse than other weapons if you only hit body shots. Because this weapon relies heavily on getting headshots for it to be competitive, make sure that you are actively trying to get those headshots.
I did not Okay, yeah, that's kind of underrated. Only 2 headshots for a light, and then 3 headshots for a medium. Okay, that's interesting.
and not just autopiloting and getting body shots like a lot of people do with heavy weapons. It also has surprisingly good hip fire. Flamethrower can be a pretty good weapon, but to get the most out of it, you pretty much need to use a mesh shield in high level rank. In lower level lobbies, you can afford to use other specs, but against good players, having proper mesh management is crucial.
Yeah, because this is such an annoying combo to go against, just because, you know, someone will hit with the flamethrower, deal a little bit of damage, but then you'll get burned, and then you like can't really do anything because they're mesh shielded. So you need to try and get like close to them to try and either kill them, or you can try and run from them. But you know, it's just such an annoying combo because they just have so much survivability, and the flamethrower kind of thrives on like sustained damage and just like damage over time. So it's just so annoying to have so much survivability with the flamethrower.
What you need to do. So to get the most use out of your flamethrower, you're going to want to probably use the mesh shield, especially in those higher level lobbies. So what you want to do is apply the burn like this, let the burn tick down, and your teammates can go and heal you or whatever. This is especially helpful if you're going up to face a heavy like this. Burn them a little bit, let the burn tick a little bit more, apply more burn, let it tick a little bit more.
Yeah, because like he's saying, you can just keep reapplying that burn, and especially in like high level ranked with good teammates, you can use like H plus infuser or heal beam just to like get even more sustained survivability with heal beam and just more health.
Easy win. The M60 is a pretty straightforward weapon and probably one of the first ones you'll use when you're new to the game. So for all those new players out there, make sure that you put a red dot sight on this weapon because these irons are horrible. Also, the gun does get better recoil the longer you fire it. So do with that information what you will. At the time,
did they change it, or was that a different gun? That might have been the Lewis that they changed. But I think they changed the recoil to be different. But I think it still stands mostly of like the more you shoot, the
writing this video, the M60 is better than the Lewis gun in most cases, but
I'm pretty sure now with the meta, the Lewis gun is better, but I'm not really that sure. I think it's better because the M60 isn't in, but the Lewis is in the meta loadout. So
is one thing the Lewis does better, and that's engagements at range. The Lewis keeps more of its damage over longer ranges. So in some maps like Kyoto, if you feel like you're struggling with the M60, try swapping to the Lewis gun instead. Although the M60 might have slightly better time to kills, the Lewis is pretty close, and in some of those longer range maps, that might just be the better option. The MGL actually has some pretty decent arena damage capabilities, so if you have some extra time, you can destroy some walls or stairs at cash out sites before the enemies arrive. It's also important that you try not to give enemy players high ground, as it's basically the number one thing that will mess you up when using this weapon. The Shack is a really great weapon, but it's important that you realize its limitations when you use it. Make sure that it is reloaded constantly, and if you're at longer ranges, aim for the body, as the bullet spread can make headshots almost impossible past a certain point. It's also probably one of the best weapons to pair with Winch Claw now. Along with having suspiciously good hip fire, the FAMAS has some of the best time to kill on heavies and mediums out of the rifles. So if
I've been actually using the FAMAS a lot recently on medium. I think I've definitely slept on it because I think I just didn't realize how much headshot damage it does. Like I was comparing its body shot damage to, I think, the FCAR and the AKM, and I was like, oh well, the AKM and FCAR do more like consistent damage, but this thing can absolutely just demolish lights just like in 3 bursts, and it's actually kind of crazy.
There are a lot of these players in the game, it might be worth it to swap to this gun. Also, for some reason, this scope seems to have more visual sway than the others. So while it might be a bug, there's really no telling when it gets fixed. So if you're
I think I'm using
future,
that site.
I would probably check to see if the scope has sway or not. Unlike the FAMAS, the FCAR has some of the best time to kill versus lights.
Yeah, because I think that's the thing is I was comparing the two versus lights, and I was like, oh, it's definitely harder to deal with lights on FAMAS, but easier on FCAR. So definitely pick, based on the lobby or based on, what your strengths are. If you're not so good at killing lights, then maybe you pick FCAR. But if you want to melt heavy players and you think they're very annoying with their flamethrower, then pick FAMAS and you'll have a better time.
kills versus the other classes. But if your lobbies are mostly light players, it might be the best choice to pick up the FCAR. Make sure that when you use this gun, you pull down slightly more around bullets 6 and 7, as this is usually the part of the recoil pattern that messes most people's aim up. At the current state of the game as of making this video, FAMAS and FCAR tend to have better time to kills than the AKM in almost every scenario. So while they are usually the better options technically, there is one use case where I would like the AKM more than the other rifles, and that is to burst down mesh and
yes, okay. And I was about to say, good thing I watched this a little bit, but because the meta right now is mesh shield, dome shield, you know, a lot of shields and a lot of extra health, it's definitely the better option. I mean, of course, if you're like low level ranked or not even ranked, pick whatever you want, but for like higher level or if you want to play the meta, then the AKM is a very good choice just because it can do way better against shields and you have a better time against those.
If you don't have a light with a glitch grenade. That's because the AKM has the most total damage per magazine, so if there's a lot of shields in your game or if you just like having that extra ammo, the AKM might be the better option, but once again, in terms of time to kill, the other rifles tend to do a little bit better. CL40 has a lot of counters to it, but if you want to try and minimize them, I would recommend bringing Data Reshaper to deal with anyone using an APS, and I would also bring
that's actually kind of crazy. Like, let's watch that range and the
to deal with
just
anyone
like
using an APS, and I would also bring a jump pad or a zipline to get height. I would recommend bringing Data Reshaper to deal with anyone using an APS.
Was that a dome shield that he just data reshape?
Minimize them. I would recommend bringing Data.
I don't think so. That was a
minimize them.
APS.
I would recommend bringing.
Yeah, there's an APS.
Data Reshaper to deal with anyone using an APS, and I would also bring a jump pad or a zipline to get height, which is very important with this weapon. And above
also, I'm just gonna say one more thing, a little bit unrelated, but the Data Reshaper is very underrated. I think I watched a video. I'm not sure who the creator is, but it's like all the things that you could data reshape, and there's a lot of things that you could data reshape. Which, you know, some of them are very niche, like the rocket. I'm not sure if that one was data reshapeable, but something like that. It's like, you know, you aren't going to be holding up your data reshaper waiting for someone to RPG you. You're just going to be shooting them or, you know, something else. You're not going to be anticipating that. But it is a very underrated gadget, and it definitely gets people off guard just because, you know, they're relying on like their turret or like mines or something to deal damage, but you can just totally negate them with the data reshaper.
Make sure that you don't let your enemy get too close to you and kill you with self-damage. If the dual blaze deflect feels really inconsistent, it's usually a server-side problem and not a user error issue. If you want to do well with this weapon, trying to keep your opponent guessing by mixing up whether you're going to attack or deflect at close range is a great way to get value from this weapon. And for some reason, a lot of people don't know that you can deflect other melee weapons with them. Dual blades against
I did not know you could deflect other melee weapons. That is crazy. Does it do a bunch of damage? Like, hold up.
Blades against other melee weapons is still a pretty bad matchup, but this might value from this weapon. And for some reason, a lot of people don't know that you can deflect other melee weapons with them.
That looked like it might have been also his teammate.
And for some reason, a lot of people don't know that you can deflect other melee weapons.
Yeah, like that was an assist because that guy was shooting with the FCAR, but okay, so I don't think it does full damage.
Against other melee weapons is still a pretty bad matchup, but this might win you a couple games, so go try it out. Since animation canceling has been removed, mixing in melees between every shot with the model isn't an option anymore, and at the time of recording this video, if you're fighting a light, it's best to try and hit them with 2 shots instead of 1 and a melee, as in this patch, the old combo leaves them with just a little bit of health. Also, it's faster to reload this thing when it's fully empty, so sometimes it's best to just use up all the ammo before reloading.
But now they changed it, so I think that the first reload, like when you're just getting into the animation when it's not empty, is a lot faster, so this gun is a lot better in the meta and just better to use in general.
A lot of people treat the pike as a strictly long-ranged option, but if you simply get used to quick-scoping with this weapon, it can dominate at pretty much any range. So basically just mostly avoid the hipfire and get used to aiming down sights at pretty much every range instead. Putting the red dot on the revolver does...
Okay, wait, let's go back to the pike. I think that the pike is just kind of a weird weapon in the finals just because it's a part of the medium class, but I think that the medium has a lot of other options that kind of just do what you kind of want better. Like the repeater is way better at close range, also really good at short range, but it just does way more damage per shot. Can 2-tap lights. Like I just think that the repeater, I mean, in my opinion, is a better option. And then if you want something more faster firing, there's a bunch of ARs like the FAMAS, where it's like basically very similar to the pike, but you know, of course, the pike is the very middle, so that could either be its downside or its strength, depending on how you look at it. But yeah.
Up changing the zoom value on the weapon just a bit. So if you ever felt like something was off when using it, that's probably the culprit. Some of you big revolver players probably already know this, but going for headshots should be your top priority with this weapon. Otherwise, using pretty much any medium weapon will give you better results in TTK. A good amount of you are actually using the riot shield wrong. If you run sideways like
this is a very big tip. If you take away one tip from this video, and you play riot shield, it probably should be this, where the riot shield, even if you aren't like holding it, it still blocks bullets. So if you have it at your side, but then you turn, like say I'm running at you and have this is my riot shield, I have like this, then you can't shoot me.
It lets you block bullets while on the move. Also, the shield can block flashbang effects, so if you want to fully build into the annoying guy, there you go. The Cerberus can ignite gas and goo because the rounds are incendiary, bringing even more utility to an already really good weapon. The repeater can basically be a model, but with crazy range if you play it correctly. So make sure that you are always playing around corners.
Okay, and I think one thing is that also I think this is why the repeater was in the meta and the model wasn't for a long time. I mean, the model's a little bit better now, but still repeater, I see a lot of people put it on the top of their list just because at close ranges it does shotgun type damage. You can 2-tap a light, which is literally the same as if you were using the model. It might be a little bit harder to hit, but it also has that long range. So it's kind of, you know, at least at the higher level where people are really good at using it at every range, it's just a lot better because it does the same amount of damage, but with the added of very long range capabilities
and
too.
Quick scope if the enemy gets too close to you for maximum effectiveness. Also, you get this fast reload if you're completely out of ammo. A lot of people get way too focused on trying to use the 9.3R like the FAMAS when it's really not. One of the biggest advantages of this gun is actually its close range, and the hip fire on it is pretty good. A lot of people don't see the value in the ARN, and that's usually because they're trying to use it like M11 or other close range options, which is inherently the wrong approach. This thing keeps a lot of its damage over range, so making sure that you prioritize taking long range fights and off angles is especially important with this gun. So basically use it like a fully automatic LH1. The dagger backstab.
Okay, let me also say something as another tip is to utilize the double reload. I think it's kind of an added bonus where, like, I just think it's a really cool thing. It's also very useful to have that second reload. Like, make sure if you have like 5 ammo, you can just shoot that 5 ammo to make sure, like, if you're mid-fight, if you're like, say you're like behind a corner for a second, you can just shoot that 5 ammo, do the quick reload, and now you have 30 instead of peeking, shooting 5 ammo, doing the quick reload, and then peeking. Like, it is a short animation, but it still is an animation and takes some time, which is time that you're going to get shot. So make sure that, and also going into fights, make sure after a fight you reload both of your mags and you don't just have one mag, because again,
still in the game. All you got to do is be roughly this far from your opponent, dash 180, and then release your right click for a backstab. I recommend turning melee aim assist off to do this, as it sometimes ends up auto aiming to the front of the player model, which you really do not want to happen. And for maximum dagger chaos, try using a combo of thermal vision, smoke, and gateways. But before you do this, make sure
thermal vision is vaulted right now, so that is not available. So this is basically just a bad loadout because I don't know what you would put in except for thermal vision, since thermal vision and the smoke is the main thing that you're doing in this loadout, but it's vaulted, so I would say don't follow this tip. It was a good tip when the thermal vision was still in the game, but unfortunately now it isn't. So
on board, as this is a very specific playstyle. The headshot multiplier for the LH1 is quite good, so oftentimes it's worth it to actively prioritize headshots when using this weapon. Also, if you have a hard time aiming with it, I've found that using thermal vision is a great way to help you get
Vaulted.
practice in and get more used to the recoil, mainly because it highlights the targets through all of that recoil. So give it a shot if you're
Yeah,
having
LH1
trouble using
recoil
this
is
weapon.
kind of crazy.
The ADS does literally nothing for you on the bow, so don't ever use it. Also, the projectile is a lot bigger than you might think, so don't be afraid to try and go for headshots because they technically are more
Yeah,
likely to
that's
hit.
one thing, bro. Is the amount of time I've just been headshotted with a bow as a light and just instantly died. Because it'll just be like, because that thing's time to kill is just like so short, just because it takes like half a second to draw it, like to pull it back, and then they can just instantly like, and then the damage is instant, right? With the M11, you have to shoot a lot of your ammo to actually get a dent in someone's damage, but with the bow, all of the damage is just instant. So
one of the best ways to use M11 is to get close enough to take advantage of the hipfire and then get out as soon as possible. And while I used to recommend using cloak with this gun, especially in higher range, it's been nerfed to the point where I now think dash is probably the better option.
Okay, so I think cloak is a lot better now, but I would say dash is still the better option, just because I feel like if you want the invis, then you could just use an invis bomb, because I think that's pretty good, and the cooldown's pretty short. Like, I don't think it's really worth using cloak.
If you want to quick scope with the sniper rifle for perfect accuracy, you do need to give it a second. Here's an example of me quick scoping wrong, and here's an example of me doing it right. It's also good to mention that this gun turns into a projectile weapon after a certain point. Throwing knives have the potential to be very good, but unless you're hitting headshots, it's probably better to use any other light weapon in terms of time to kill. Also, you can now hold down the ult fire, which does a ton of damage. And it's good to know that the ult fire does have a different throw trajectory than the normal attack. Since the cloak nerfs, I recommend even more to bring dash instead of cloak with the double barrel. The number one tip I would give to most new or intermediate double barrel players is to start making sure they hit their shots instead of trying to quickly get in and out without doing any damage. The more you'll use this gun, the better you'll get with being fast at it, so just give it some time, learn to take your time with the shots, and you'll just naturally get faster the more you play with it. Also, like the dagger, thermal vision, smoke, and gateway can be really good with this weapon. Like the M11, the hipfire on the V9S is pretty decent, so take advantage of this when you
and the V9S now, I would say for a tip, is its range is a lot better, so don't be scared to use it a little bit more at range.
can. If you are on MNK, make sure that you aren't tensing your hand up too much when using this weapon, as that's going to ruin your aim if you don't normally play at high tension, and many people end up unknowingly do this when they use rapid clicking weapons like the V9. So just make sure that when you're aiming, you are nice and relaxed, and I guarantee you will hit more shots. The XP54 is one of the best light weapons in the game, but learning the recoil to beam with this gun is even more important than some of the other weapons.
I don't think it's in the meta right
you
now.
want to be at a sort of mid-range distance, and only close the gap when you can get a kill confirmed, so don't use it like the M11. M26 is basically a pre-nerf model for the light class, so the old melee combos should still work with this gun. When playing the matter, make sure that you try to utilize corners as much as possible, and then go in for the dash kill if they run or are at low health. By looking up and doing
I think
the
the
dash,
M26 matter is so underrated. It has been one of my favorite weapons. I haven't used it that much recently just because I've been running the meta loadouts and playing a lot of ranked. Even though I should use it, I might get like a loadout with it. But I think just because it deals so much damage per shot, and it's really good because it's like high bursts, like boom, boom, and then you're just, so it's kind of like a double barrel at like a little bit of range. And like you said, it's kind of like the pre-nerf model, which is pretty crazy. And it also has 8 ammo, so a lot of ammo. It's really great with dash, really good for securing kills. It's very underrated.
After a sword lunge, you can make some crazy distance. But you can also do something really similar with just a well-timed jump at the end, but the timing is pretty tight.
Actually, I did not know that. You can, I wonder if that's patched or not. Hold up. I'm actually gonna find out if that's patched or not. Because that might be crazy tech.
At minimum, 1 tip for every weapon in the finals. No long outro today. Leave a like and a sub if this was helpful, and I'll see you next time.
Okay, that was a W video. We're going to launch up the finals right now and test that sword tip. But very great video again. Show love to Ronan. This is a great video. Okay, we are in the finals now. We're going to be testing the tip and trick. You said we're doing this. Hold up. Doing that. You can also do it just with a jump. I think that's it. Oh, yeah. See, it's only... Let me put a marker right where I land. And then we'll see with dash. Yeah. That's literally the same distance. So that is proven. You said that the timing is a little tight. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I can feel that, and you go so far. So it is definitely still working. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Oh, my webcam just fell. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. I will be trying to do more reaction content. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. See you guys next time. Goodbye.